Knowledge. So the next one's at what time? 1 o'clock. Not a minute. 1 o'clock. All right, so we'll be able to go through all this at around 12:30 or so.
Way back up to 12:30.
All right, sounds good. You can just leave it open for now because the judge will be coming in here in 7. Mr. Jackson, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Are you Frank?
Yes, sir.
All right. Who you got with you there?
We've got our assessor, Jim, and you're gonna have to say your last name for me.
Ortega.
Ortega.
I'll call you Jim.
It's a little easier to spell.
Yeah, no, well, with the masks, that makes it just more difficult. It'd be easier. You know,
Can you hear us okay and understand us?
if you talk loudly, yeah, like that, yes.
Okay. The setup is a little constrained just because we'll have multiple people in here. So, and we've got one speaker and also the sound's coming out of there. So we've been testing it over the last week or so, and this is what we found has worked, but just wanted to make sure that you can hear us.
I'll ask you to repeat if I didn't.
Please do.
So about the video, the recording is, I know they're recording this particular video. Is it being recorded in any other manner?
It is being recorded and it is also being streamed live on our YouTube page. So that way the public is able to observe and participate.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. Okay.
Thanks, sir.
So I believe we're streaming on YouTube.
Mr. Close, are you placing this item today?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thanks for allowing me to do the remote from my house yesterday, or Friday.
Yeah.
You can assume everything turned out well.
Well, I'm glad to have you back with us. That makes me live.
I'll be honest, I was so asleep on the, being sitting on my couch doing.
Oh, yeah.
There's not really a whole lot for me to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam said, we don't get credit. Okay. Well, we don't know. I just saw it was my own size. One big deal to me. I'll get the clerk to sign.
All right.
Which hearing is this?
This is number CI 2020-0053 through 0056. So 53, 54, 55, and 56 have all been consolidated.
So if we got everybody here we need, Mr. Shannon. Mr. Shannon, do you have a client or anyone who's going to testify?
No, I will just make argument. What I prepared to do would be put in the exhibits, which were the appraisals were attached to the petitions, and then I sent property condition reports for each of the 4 properties in by email as instructed on the order. So I'm not going to have a witness, so we'll stand on those the appraisals and the property condition reports. I may have some questions for the appraiser, but and argument.
Okay.
And
Does everybody agree we have, those exhibits that he had submitted, all the paperwork's in order?
I believe so. Mr. Shannon, did you get a copy of the email I sent on Friday that had the charts?
I did.
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right, so everybody's here and all the paperwork's in order.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll convene, this proceeding, in the case of, tax assessment appeals, from the BOE.
Is it at least?
I was waiting for the attendance sheet to get done. That can be handed off. And we only have one witness, so let's go ahead and get him sworn.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Belinda, we're going to have to, in the future, move you somewhere else in your office when you get on these meetings, because that's a blank wall line. It looks like that we don't have very good accommodations for you. Or you need to get one of those fake pictures of the beach and drop in behind you. Very good. So we're in session. Mr. Shannon, I appreciate it. Appreciate your cooperation with the limitations we have because of the COVID in 2020. I think we're ready to proceed. So if you will, go ahead and describe your case for me.
Yes, these are 4 nursing home properties, and we've submitted appraisals as well as property condition reports for each of the 4. In some instances, there are fairly significant differences between the values placed on it by the county and the values from the appraisals. The information that I have from the county appears to be a cost approach with a straight line depreciation method. And we don't believe that, doing the cost approach in this sort of income producing property, that by relying, merely on that you're really actually trying to get to or can get to a true value of these nursing home facilities. If the goal is to determine what a willing buyer would pay to a willing seller, any willing buyer of a nursing home or really any other income producing property is going to rely heavily on the income approach and is going to the condition of the building is certainly going to be less important than the amount of money that is generating and using a traditional capitalization rate or discounted cash flow analysis. So we believe that the appropriate amounts are set forth in the appraisals, where they did consider sales comparisons. They did consider the income that's generated by these properties. And they also considered the cost approach and used an effective useful life depreciation method. And so, we believe that the numbers that are set forth in each of the appraisals attached to the exhibits and supported by the property reports we submitted should be the value. That's $3.8 million on 57 West Markham, $1.9 million on 8701 Riley. I've got two, let's see, apologies. 2.9 on the John Ashley property and 1.7 on the 1516 Cumberland property. Thank you.
Any questions?
Not for Mr. Shannon, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Shannon, that completes your presentation for us this morning.
It does.
Okay, Frank, do you have a presentation from the assessor that you want to give to us?
I do, Your Honor. And just as a procedural matter, in the instance that this does get appealed and it becomes a court issue, I just kind of want to raise this objection just for future sake, but I am wanting to object to the introduction of these presentations to be considered on the basis of lack of foundation and hearsay. So I'm just objecting to these presentations being entered here in this hearing today.
That objection is so noted.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. And if nothing further, I'll go ahead and begin speaking to the witness, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir, could you please state your name for the record?
Jim Ortega.
Mr. Shannon, are you able to hear that?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your affiliation with the assessor's office?
A senior analyst.
Okay. Before we get into the properties themselves, can you just tell me a little bit about your qualifications, starting with any trainings that you have or education you have in this?
Well, I'm a level 4 appraiser with the state. I've been with the assessor's office for 25 years.
Okay. Any other kind of qualifications that you just want to mention at this time regarding your expertise? Okay. Now, we're looking at some similar properties here, correct? As far as the type of properties that these are. And so before we get into what sets them apart, these have been valued in a similar method, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so can you tell me a little bit about the method that you have used in valuing these 4 properties?
Those 4 properties are all valued with the cost method.
Okay. And so with this cost method, I think Mr. Shannon said that you would use the straight line depreciation. Is that the method that you used in determining the cost here?
Well, that's not we use the depreciation sheet that's in the Marshall Swift book. I don't believe it's referred to as straight line, but they've got a chart in there.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about how you come to value the property using that method?
Well, we go out, we measure the building, we enter the size, give it an effective age, and it prices it out. That's basically about it.
Okay. So look at the size, effective age, and compare those two to get what you would value it as from the cost method?
Yes.
Okay. And so in doing that, why do you believe that's the appropriate way in getting to the valuation of these particular properties?
Well, we don't really have, I heard Mr. Shannon mention the income valuation. And while that is a good method to use, we don't really have the income information. And then plus you get into the argument of removing the business value. So we value that cost to make that simpler. There's no argument on the business value. So
I gotcha. And so you feel like that's the more effective way in determining the value of these properties?
yes.
So we talked about the valuation methods. So now kind of getting into the specifics of these individual properties. One of these is somewhat different than the other 3 properties, correct?
Yes, one's a different class.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
And also it's been totally remodeled too. That's the one on Markham.
Okay. And that is the 5720 West Markham Street?
Yes.
Okay. And so.
And is that case 53?
Yes, it is. Okay. And so what is different about this property on Markham Street versus the other ones?
Well, that one, we're calling it an A-class construction. The other ones are C-class, and that one also has been totally redone back, I think, in 2012, somewhere in there.
Okay. So what distinction does it being an A-class versus a C-class? What is that distinction?
Well, it's just the type of construction.
Okay. Does that mean it's of a higher quality?
Yes.
Okay. And then therefore, because it's a higher quality, would be of a higher value?
Yes.
Okay. And then the second part about the renovation, can you tell me a little bit more about what's going on there?
Well, they took out a building permit for roughly $4 million, I think in late 2010. And totally redid the building. So it was almost virtually like a new building when it was reopened in 2012.
Okay. And so this process of renovating it, did it increase the value of the property?
Yes.
Would renovating this building change the effective life of this building?
Well, it's not going to change the life of the building. It's going to change the effective age.
I think that's the term I was looking for. Could you just elaborate a little bit more on how renovations? Oh, yes, Your Honor.
I just wanted to get you to pause for just a moment. Mr. Shannon, if you don't mind, would you mind muting yourself? We're getting some feedback off of your speaker and into your mic. Thank you. And so you'll control your own muting. Good.
And if there are any issues, I've got the computer over here as well that I think we can.
That's okay.
So getting back to the renovations there and impacting the effective age, correct?
Yeah.
Can you give me a little bit more information about how a renovation will impact the effective age of this property?
Well, it's got probably new heating and air, new sprinkler systems, these sort of things, new roof, that sort of stuff that is maintenance things that wear out that, need to be replaced and that sort of thing. So.
Okay. And so would that also impact the depreciation that has occurred in this building or that is taken into account with the valuations? And how does that come to impact it?
Well, you're not going to have as much depreciation because it's virtually like a newer building.
Okay. 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 And then, so the Markham Street was a little bit different than the other properties. Have these seen the same amount of renovations?
No,
Okay. But to your knowledge, have they been maintained at least throughout the life of the buildings?
I would say they've been maintained.
Okay. And what kind of condition would you say that these buildings are in?
Probably average.
Okay. Are they in a condition good enough to be a business and to operate as a business?
I would say so.
If they were in a poor condition, would they be able to operate as a business?
That's debatable, but you get to a certain point where no, I wouldn't think they would be able to if they were in poor enough condition.
Okay. And so just regarding kind of the specifics of the valuations, the other three properties they used a similar valuation method as the Markham Street.
Right.
Okay. And these are the valuation methods that you used when you initially came up with their values that was presented?
Yes.
Okay. And you believe that the values that were initially presented were the true and correct values of these properties?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Shannon, do you have a question?
Yeah, let me make sure that we got you unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
It's a feedback. I turned my speakers down, so that may help with the feedback.
You were fine.
Okay. Yeah, I do have a few questions. Let's see, when you were doing your evaluation of this building, you got information on the size of the improvements, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you got information on the quality and the condition of the improvements, right?
Yes.
Did you get information about the occupancy rate of the building and how many patients they have versus how many they could have?
No, not.
Did you get any sort of sales data or any sort of rental data that maybe go from the landowner to the operator?
Well, the sales, we do monitor the sales,
You're
because
talking
we,
about the sales of the building, I mean, the real estate?
yes, we get all the sales and we look at all those, validate all the sales, for every class of property in the county. So we do monitor those, and we have to, there's a ratio that we have to come in with the state, on the sales. So
Okay, what about the income generated by the buildings?
we do collect that too. If that's, on these, we do collect that also.
Okay, and did you collect that for these buildings?
I'm gonna say probably we did not.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not you asked for it?
We do ask for it. We don't always get the income information, even though we do ask for it every time we go out. But sometimes they don't know, sometimes they don't want to give it out, that sort of thing, so.
All right. Well, the income information is included in the appraisals that we attach to the petition. Did you have any occasion to review that and do a check on it, anything like that?
I did look through it. I have not looked through it recently. That was last year that I looked through it, but yes, I did glance at it.
Okay. Did you have any critiques that you can recall of the income approach and the sales comparison approach that were done in those appraisals?
No, I did not.
Okay. What about the depreciation amount that were in those appraisals? Did you look at those and what did you think about that?
I did look at them, and I feel, in my opinion, they're depreciating them too much, but that's my opinion.
Okay. And they used an effective useful life a figure. Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you think about that approach? Do you have any objections to that approach, or?
I have no objections to it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't agree with the amount of depreciation is all. I guess the effective age probably is the difference.
Okay. Did you do an analysis and a comparison with other like properties to verify the accuracy of your values?
Well, like I said, we look at the sales on all these, and they're all valued in a similar method. So I would say, yes, we did.
So you looked at, I'm sorry, you looked at the sales of these particular buildings.
Yes, we look at sales for every type of property in the county.
Okay, so did you compare the sales of these particular buildings to sales of other nursing homes? Not these four.
The sales of these four, or you're saying sales of all?
Right. I'm trying to see whether you did a sales comparison approach using it.
We did not do a sales comparison approach per se. No, no,
Okay.
sir.
So the only comparisons you were doing were with the sales of these particular properties.
Well, we didn't do a sales comparison approach, but we look at the sales because we have to make sure that we're valuing these in line with the sales, because like I'm saying, the ratio, we have to make sure we're within a certain amount of the ratio with the state. So.
Okay. Well, when you say you look at these sales, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. You're talking about
sales of nursing homes, all the nursing home sales is what I'm saying.
Including nursing homes that aren't these four.
Right.
Okay. And so where is that information kept? Do you have
Well,
notes or anything like that, or?
I mean, it's just, I'm saying it's just the sales. We get the sales, we analyze the sales, that sort of thing. There's nothing. We didn't do a sales comparison first.
Okay. What about the sales numbers for these particular buildings? Did you take that into account at all? Specifically the 5720 West Markham property. It appears to me that the county's appraisals of $12,186,000. Their last two sales of the property listed were $8,256,000 in May of 2016 and $4,285,000 in August of 2018. Did you take that into account?
Well, the last time we did a reappraisal was 2017. And we won't do another one for 5 more years. So those values will stand. Those are about off the sales prior to 2017.
Yeah, the one of the sales was $8,256,000. That was in May of 2016.
Okay, then that would have been taken into account in this. Maybe we decided that wasn't a valid sale. I have no idea without looking at it specifically, but.
Okay. So in 2017, is there a file that's kept of the reappraisal that was done at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the cards, yes.
Okay, so and so how did you determine the effective age of the let's say the 5720 West Markham building?
We had somebody from our office go out and inspect it, and they gave it effective age. They signed it. So
But that's not you.
I did not on that one, no.
Okay.
But somebody from our office.
Okay. So when you're doing your appraisal, are you trying to come up with what a willing seller would pay to what it would take from a willing buyer, that number that they're trying to get to?
Yes, we're trying to get market value. That's what you're asking.
And so, I mean, would you agree that in a commercial property such as a nursing home or a hotel or commercial office building that that a buyer is going to rely more on an income approach or a sales comparison approach than they would on a cost approach?
Generally, yes, I'll agree with that.
All right, so just so we're clear, the only method that the assessor used in this case to establish the fair market value was the cost approach.
Yes.
No further questions.
Frank, do you have any other questions?
Just a few, if I may, Your
Go
Honor.
ahead.
So first of all, you felt like in the petitioner's valuations, they had used too much depreciation, correct?
Yes.
And why do you feel that they depreciated the properties too much?
Well, I mean, I know that's subjective in some ways, but typically if there's only 25% left of the building, as they're saying, it's basically used up. There's nothing left of it almost, so.
Okay, what would a property, what issues would a property have if it only had 25% of the value or 25% of the life left in it? What would that look like?
Probably not very, very usable, I would think.
Okay, and you did not feel like these properties were in the condition that they alleged?
No.
There was a lot of talk about different valuation methods. Do you feel like the method that you used is still an effective method for establishing the value of the property?
Yes.
Do you use that method for other properties in various situations? In general?
We value everything. We run a cost value on everything.
Okay. And so it's still, is it still a generally accepted means for establishing a value of a property?
That depends the property.
Okay, but does it work for some properties? Or is it one that you use for some properties?
Yes.
Now we're looking at the sales of the property on Markham Street, correct? Do you remember before 2016, any of the sales before that we were talking about, the 2016 date?
I remember there was some sales on it. I don't remember how much they were. There's been a lot of transactions on that building.
Okay. Am I allowed to show the sales card to the witness?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a copy of it right here. You will go, it's right there on the top, if you'll just kind of flip.
On the left side.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so can you just give me a couple of the previous sale values of this property?
Well, 2012, 17,100,000.
Okay, so in 2012, the property had previously sold for $17 million?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I believe that's all I've got.
Michael, do you have something?
Just a short closing kind of a argument, Your Honor. I don't believe that I believe the law in Arkansas, with our Arkansas Supreme Court and the Arkansas Court of Appeals, is that when income producing property is assessed, the new cost approach and the new cost approach is used exclusively without any consideration of the value of the property in terms of income, then the appraisal is not aimed at determining the property's true market value. That is Jim Paws, Inc. versus the Equalization Board of Garland County, 289 ARC 113. And then in 2017, the Arkansas Court of Appeals said in that case that the Jim Paws case stands for the proposition that an assessor cannot simply rely on one method to establish the fair market value of the property or company being assessed. And so I don't think I think it's clear that the assessor relied upon one method here, and that's not acceptable under our appellate court cases. So I would ask the court to adopt what I believe is the only valid appraisals in front of them are the ones that we attach to the petition. Thank you.
Right.
Your Honor, under Arkansas law, it is the burden of the petitioner to prove the true and correct value of the property. I don't believe that has occurred here today. I don't believe that there's been any specific testimony establishing any specific numbers or the foundation as to how the petitioner came to these specific values. So based on that burden being on the petitioner, with any kind of lack of discussion about any of the underlying numbers, valuations, or anything like that, I don't believe the petitioner has met its burden here today. And I do believe that the assessor's original value is the best and true and correct valuation of the property.
Does that complete your?
And that completes.
Great. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm going to take this under advisement. I'm going to invite you both, if you care, to submit a executive summary, if you will. I say it that way because I'm going to tell you that it's limited to one page. If you'd like to do an overall of your case, or there's some other information that you want to make sure that you get before me, and I welcome that. I'll give that. I'd like to have that in the office within 2 weeks from today. And once that 2 weeks has come and gone, I will rule within 2 weeks after that. Does that make sense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does that make sense, Michael?
Yeah, so 1 page only, executive summary within 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'll rule on the case within 2 weeks after that.
Okay.
And that executive summary is your option.
Okay, not required, but can if I want to. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Judge.
I appreciate it. Have a good week.
You too.
All right, thank you all.
Bye.
Relatively painless. You're all aware of it.
Case law. Jim Paul's, I've got that look at it, but I've read the case.
Yeah, 1 o'clock, or, no, 2 o'clock.
Stated.
2 o'clock, yeah.
I was